Hey everybody, Mahari Hay, CEO and co-founder of the Community Corporate and Culture Groups, CCC for those who don't know. So October is a very special month, and at the CCC Group, we want to face into topics that really help communities to feel supported. One of those key topics is breast cancer. And I'm very proud to be joined by one of our Inspirational Mother in the Year finalists, Nellie Gbadebo, who is a breast cancer survivor. And this conversation is all about raising awareness of breast cancer, and more importantly, the support that's available and how not just the CCC Group, but Nellie's story will inspire those to get the support that they need, get the love that they need, but more importantly, know that we are seeing them and we are here to support them.
Hi, my name is Nellie Gbadebo. I'm a social entrepreneur and founder of Touchy Feely, the #1 creative and cultural voice for those affected by cancer, specifically those from underrepresented communities. And also to add to that, I'm a breast cancer survivor.
When we talk about breast cancer, it's sometimes a topic that you may feel that it's faced into by older women. But I know your story is something that challenges that. So I'm very interested, and our viewers, to find out exactly what that means for you, and is that narrative correct?
Yeah, well, that narrative couldn't be further away from the truth. And I think it's quite a dangerous narrative as well. As for me, I was diagnosed at 26. That was unheard of. No one in my family had breast cancer before. And to be honest, I had the cancer during 2 pregnancies and didn't know. So it was so multi-layered and so many things to unpack. Being a young Black mum, no one said to me during my midwife's appointment, oh, still make sure that you're checking your breast for any changes. The body is going through so many hormonal changes, be on top of it. I didn't get that nudge, that reminder. So when I found the first lump during my pregnancy and told the midwife, and she said to me, oh, you're not breastfeeding, so it's probably a dried up milk duct. Wow. I chose to trust the expert, but as one should. And then I fell pregnant 2 months after that. So as you can imagine, I had 3 under 3 children.
Well, yeah, we know what happens there.
Exactly. So my firstborn at the time was a toddler.
Okay.
I have a newborn, and I just find out I'm pregnant. So life goes on, and life is moving fast.
What a mixture of emotions, from joy to now processing information just like that.
Well, the thing is, at that time, I didn't know it was cancer. So I actually went through 2 pregnancies back to back without knowing it was cancer.
That's incredible.
So when I found the lump with my middle child and was told it was a dried up milk duct, I found that I was pregnant about 6 to 8 weeks after that. Life carried on. I didn't monitor the lump because, again, I've put it down to just dried up milk. It will go eventually. And it was during that 3rd pregnancy I found another lump, but this time in the armpit. And that's when my husband was like, something's not right, we need to get that checked out. So after I gave birth, I went to the discharge appointment, and in that appointment, I was referred for a biopsy. But I will never forget that appointment because my GP is an Indian woman.
Okay.
And I always say this, she scolded me with so much love because she knows all my children. She's our family GP. She knows my husband well, she knows me well, she knows all of my children. So she said to me, what were you thinking leaving that lump? Why did you not fight? And at the time I was thinking, I shouldn't have to fight.
Yeah.
I don't know any better. I'm a first-time mother. Like with my first one, a first-time mother, second child, I'm just my kids are so close in age. I'm not that experienced yet, you know? And she said to me, look, in our communities, we don't talk about these things. She was like, you're Black, I'm Indian. But in terms of taboo, we share that. And the stigma that comes with talking about cancer. So she said to me, you're going off for a biopsy.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm not going to see you. You're now going to be under different care. But she was like, keep going. If you feel like something's not right, speak up for yourself. And then after that, I went for the biopsy. And in fact, it came back as cancer, but cancer that spread to the lymph nodes. So that was the second lump that I had found. So the first lump in the breast was stage 1 breast cancer. And the lump in the armpit was it spreading to the lymph nodes. So I had a lumpectomy, which means you remove the tumor but save the breast. They did that, and they also removed the tumor in the armpit, and they removed lymph nodes with it as well. So this happened all in 2023.
So Nellie, I'm quite taken aback by what you've shared so far, and I'm just thinking around the definition of what it means. When somebody says, oh yeah, I love it, you know, being young and healthy, what does that actually mean to you before you got your diagnosis? Because I can't imagine being in my 20s and hearing my GP or my doctor, whatever it may be, tell me you have cancer. What did that feel like?
Well, being young and healthy was all I knew, because that was me. I didn't have any illnesses prior to that. I thought I was fine. I went for my checkups. My checkups always came back fine. At the very most, I just had low iron, anemic, at the very most. But outside of that, I thought I was healthy. I thought I was absolutely fine. And like I said, there's nothing in my family history that would indicate that I should look out for anything like breast cancer or ovarian cancer. So being told that I have breast cancer in my 20s, you can imagine that rattled my world. But my main priority in that moment was my children, because we had just started having kids. So this happened in 2023. My oldest at the time was 3. My youngest was a newborn still, and I still had one in between. So now the very first thing that came to my mind was, this is a death sentence, and I'm not going to see my children grow. I'm not going to witness the first car, prom, start of secondary school, even year 1. Because at the time, they're saying to me stage 1, grade 3, but as you can imagine, there is so much to process. All I know is that it's cancer. And where I'm from, cancer often leads to death. So while she's 3, I'm thinking, when she turns 5 and starts school, I'm not going to even see that. So instantly, I went into dear Alea, you're reading this when mummy was just diagnosed. And even when I think about it now, it makes me emotional, because those are my kids. And as a mother, it's almost like a duty to always be there for your children. So instantly, I felt like I failed them even before their life had started. Because how good of a mother can I be if I'm just not there? And even though it's not because I'm choosing to not be there, I just wanted them to know that I fought for them. And if they're reading this letter, it's because I thought about them. That's how much I fought for you guys. I'm thinking ahead, so that when you read this, you can find comfort in knowing that I really tried, but this thing it took me out. So being diagnosed with that in my 20s, with my 3 children, with my husband, it was incredibly hard. It was 100% the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
So Nellie, you have to forgive me, because I'm trying to think about all the emotions going through me right now, because you having the great news of finding out that you're pregnant and then also being diagnosed with cancer. That's an incredible mix of emotions that's flowing through you. And if you think about all of that and the support that's needed, not just from your family unit, we're talking and leaning into the nurses, the doctors, everybody that now needs to support you on your medical journey. And you hear all the horrible stories about what Black women go through when they feel the neglect from our medical professionals. How did you manage to cope with that? We're talking emotions. And did you receive the support from the medical professionals during both these different journeys?
Well, what I will say is, at the time when cancer wasn't even in the picture and it was just my pregnancy, and I felt like I was supported. If I had a question I can ask, I felt like it was answered. I can call my midwife, she'll get back to me. I felt like I was supported. But now, in hindsight, I felt like I just felt like there's a lack of information, lack of education that mothers do not receive.
Okay.
And the reason as to why I say that is, when you're pregnant, you get a pack. And the pack is where you keep all your documents and you take it to your midwife appointments. I'm sure you're familiar.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why on that pack there's so much information, but what about just a kind reminder? Hi mummies, still check your breast once a month, even during pregnancy. I felt like I let my guard down. And I feel like I can and I should, because I'm pregnant and I'm happy and I've always wanted children. So I just wanted to focus on that brilliant time. But I feel like there's still like a duty of care to remind these mothers that during pregnancy, you can temporarily be at risk of developing breast cancer due to the spike of estrogen levels. So breast cancer is very multi-layered, because sometimes you can have the BRCA gene. In my case, I didn't have the BRCA gene, but the cancer was an estrogen. It fed off the estrogen, the hormones. So, and that is the hormone that is affiliated like with women in pregnancy, and it spikes. So my thing is just letting women know that there is a chance of developing this. So just be on the extra lookout. There's a way to share that information without scaremongering, is what I believe. And in terms of the care that I received during cancer, there was a specific occasion where I almost lost it, because I thought, are you taking a piss? Are you not seeing who's in front of you? So it was by the person carrying out the radiotherapy. And I was very much so protective of my children, because I don't want them to see an image of me and remember that. I didn't want to traumatize my children. So the most that it was mummy's got a haircut, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that, because they don't understand anything. But with radiotherapy, I thought, what are the side effects? How can I prepare? So that's how I went about my treatment. I always wanted to prepare. So I asked and I said, what changes should I look out for? Because I'm not finding much on Google, and within the community, I'm not really seeing much. I'm not seeing what radiotherapy looks like on black skin. And she was like, oh, don't worry about it. You're just going to go pink like you've had a sunburn.
Strange.
And I thought, that's actually quite dismissive, because you're looking at me, and I just thought, do you not see me? I don't go pink. I don't even sunburn. I don't go pink when I've been in the sun for a long time. So that really bothered me. So I made it a duty that when I go through radiotherapy, I'm going to document what that looks like, so that when the next black woman gets diagnosed, she can at least prep. she can at least feel like, okay, this is about to come. This is what I should know. This is what I can do about it. I didn't have that. And that was why going public with my journey in real time was important. I didn't want to wait until it was over, because then I can gloss over things. That's how I am. I would downplay it. I wanted to talk about things in real time so that people can see the brutality behind what having cancer as a Black woman in the UK can look like.
So my wife and I, we talk and we get into conversations about health, life, mentally, emotionally, physically. Menopause is something that I understand and I know what it's about my wife, and I want to support her. She's not gone through it, but I want to be well versed in what that means and what that represents. So for you who experienced menopause before you were 30, I'm sure nobody before they're 30 would ever expect them to be going through menopause before they hit that number. Can you please bring that to life on what that actually felt like for you?
Yes.
And what that actually means?
Yeah, I can. So currently I'm in my menopause. I was medically induced at 26. So when my diagnosis happened at such a young age, the main concern was reoccurrence. Oncologists wanted to reduce that chance significantly, and they've said, because you're diagnosed in your 20s, the likelihood of it returning within the next 10 years is higher because you were diagnosed so early. And because you had an estrogen receptive type of breast cancer, what we're going to do is reduce the estrogen, bring it all the way down, shut it off completely, so that we can reduce that chance of reoccurrence. So that means that I'm in menopause because of that. So that's how being medically induced into menopause works. So that is a part of my treatment for the next 10 years. So by the time I come off of it, I'm going to be perimenopausal, going into natural menopause. But right now, it's extremely challenging because I've had to deal with the realities of not being able to have more children. And for me, that really hurt because I'm my mother's only child, and I've always said I've wanted a big family. You can see the path that I was heading down. Like, it was baby, 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 because that's what I've always wanted. But now I feel as if that decision was taken away from me. And though I'm very grateful with my 3, and maybe I wouldn't have had more children, but when life comes to that conclusion for you, it feels like a right has been taken away. And I feel like I have no say. Now, being medically induced into your menopause means that you don't have the grace of perimenopause. So women are never just thrown straight into menopause. It's in phases. And perimenopause is what happens before your menopause, and your body is, adjusting as time goes by with the age, so it's not so sudden.
So this is good for me because
Yes.
as a man, I want to understand. So
Absolutely.
when it comes to those moments, I have 2 daughters,
Yeah.
Muslim and white.
Yeah.
I want to be in a position where
You
I
can
can hear
support.
it and I can support. So I really do appreciate this because this is fantastic to hear and understand.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what happens. It's a gradual process. Now with me, it was not gradual. It's every month an injection to the stomach, which keeps the ovaries at bay, stops the production of estrogen, and I have to do that every month, and then on medication every day. So I was saying that I didn't get the grace of perimenopause. So it went from being fertile, having a cycle, feeling young and healthy, like you earlier mentioned, to having what feels like the body of a woman in her 50s.
Okay.
So it's very sudden, very drastic. There's no grace, no mercies with it. I have hot flashes. I deal with severe brain fog, insomnia. I really struggle to sleep. And it means I've had to be very intentional about my wellness. I've had to prioritize myself because it's almost like I don't recognize the vessel that I'm in anymore. I've just been dumped into this body that is aging. My bones ache. I went to my GP the other day and she said to me, look, I need you to be on your supplements. I need you to be on it because your bones are more fragile than the average person right now. You're most likely to break a bone. And I said to her, why is that? She was like, it's the menopause. It's aging you from within. So where I am right now and where I often struggle with is feeling like I'm never really going to get back to myself, because by the time 10 years comes and this is over, I'm going to be approaching my 40s. So it's, how will I be able to account for the next decade? And hence why I'm so intentional about the work that I do.
Yeah.
Because why is this not a conversation? Mahari, imagine this. They say to you that you're 26 and you're in menopause, you can't have more children.
Right.
Here are support groups for you to attend. You go to the support groups, everyone is in their 50s and above. In the very space where I'm meant to feel supported, I feel even more isolated because now I can see it. I can feel it more. When it's by yourself, there is isolation, but it's just your reality. You're in your own bubble. But now I've entered the very space that was quote unquote created for me, but no one looks at me. I can't relate. They're in a whole different place in life. And they're looking at me like, are you sure you're in the right group? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I've been medically induced into menopause. So that's why it was super important for me to curate that space, to create touchy-feely, because there is a need for it. It's just that those needs aren't being met. And being a Black woman going through that is even more isolating. I fall into a weird intersection. A Black, young mum that's had cancer in and around pregnancy. It's hard for all those individual needs to be met, but they take a toll on my mental health because I'm carrying so many different crosses is what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know? And having to explain that to people, it's quite hard. It's quite hard.
So I think listening to you explain that, I'm kind of filled with emotion because I'm already thinking, how does my family, how do Nikki and I support you? How do we support you on this journey and what you're trying to do? And because it's absolutely relevant. And I think hearing this and bring it to life, just to kind of bring it home, I think for me has opened my eyes even wider than it was.
Yeah.
But again, for people to actually tap in to really understand how isolation feels and with these things are happening in and around your life. So everything happening now, all at once, right? We had the diagnosis, we had your treatment, we had menopause. How did you process all of that? How did you deal with it from a mental capacity? Because these are heavy things that's happening in your life. In your mind that's young, your body that's young, and something as heavy as this has now hit you in a way that you probably never expected. How did that impact you?
It's changed who I am for sure. I am not the same person that I was prior to diagnosis in 2023. My approach is cancer does something to you and it changes you and you can control how it changes you to some degree. For me, I've chosen to be very intentional about this diagnosis and how now I'm going to live my life. In regards to how I processed it and how I'm dealing with that type of trauma, I'm still dealing with it. And I don't know when that's going to end. That's the reality. I can't say to you, this is how I dealt with it, because I'm still dealing with it. And every day there's something new that triggers. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. But that's part of the healing. And I'm understanding that. But the one thing that carried me through, and till this day, I will forever be indebted to and grateful for, is community. without community, the Nellie that you see today would not be, because community poured into me. When I asked, what should I expect? How do I prepare for radiotherapy? How do I prep my kids for that? What changes should I look out for? I got very clinical answers, generic answers using language that I didn't even understand. And language is so important. And I don't feel like I received culturally competent care. But where did I get that care from? Community. They understood me. I got it from the women before me.
Yes.
There aren't a lot, sorry, because we don't talk about it. Very, very few. It's still taboo. But the ones that are open, they poured into me. They allowed me to ask and to ask and to ask. I never felt like it was too much or too little even. And that's when I said, okay, so community isn't just about healing. It's also about serving. And that's when I said, it was an epiphany, and I was like, oh, this cancer thing is bigger than me. I was like, because this is a neglected space. And with my platform, my influence, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. And it is serve my community. And that's why I'm super, super, super big on not doing anything alone. You don't have to. It's a lie that we've been fed in terms of our health. I'm sure we have great aunties, great uncles that had cancer and no one knew. When I shared my story, my DMs and emails they blew up. Young girls there was one specific girl I'll never forget. She was in Coventry at university. She had just been diagnosed, none of her family members knew.
Wow.
And I said to her, so how are you gonna get through this? Who's gonna look after you? She was like, oh, my flatmates. And I thought, why are you not telling? So I asked her, and she was like, because I don't want to worry them. I'm here to study. So you're carrying literally your family on your back, but you've just been diagnosed with cancer, and still family comes first. And still it comes first. So that's when I said, okay, so she's not going to family, she needs a community. And that's when I said to her, come, you can't go through this alone. I want to know about your appointments. And then I introduced her to a network of women that would be able to support her through that when I couldn't do it. Because I'm doing all of this in the midst of my own treatment with newborns and a toddler. So I'm just navigating my own stuff, but I understood the power of community. I knew that I was able to carry this out so gracefully because of faith and the people that were placed around me. So I just wanted her to have some of that because I know that's how she's gonna get through it. And then obviously that's how we got to touchy-feely.
You probably find there's a lot of this interview where I'm looking down, but it's because I'm thinking about the journey that you've been on. And you spoke so brilliantly about the spirit of community. One of the key pillars within the community corporate and culture group is community and what that represents. But I know as much as you're out there supporting other people and creating a space where people feel supported, Nellie's still Nellie. You're still a wife. You're still a mother. How do you protect your peace? How do you find that time to make sure you are not the one that's having to add another stress on top of all the other emotions that you're going through? What would you say to people watching?
Good question. Good question. Because it took me a while to figure out what that's even going to look like. What does peace even mean? What does peace mean? Because what I thought peace meant wasn't that. And so I found myself in counseling because I needed to share without worrying. There were days that I didn't want to be here. Do you think you can say that to your mum? Her only child. Do you think you can tell a Black Caribbean woman her only child has just been diagnosed with breast cancer and she doesn't want to be here anymore? What is that going to look like? And I couldn't, in all of this, I couldn't fathom hurting my loved ones even more, because I felt like that diagnosis, I saw it. It was traumatic. I won't be surprised if they have some form of PTSD from that, because we'd never heard it before. And it happened to one of the younger ones. I remember, for example, my granddad was diagnosed with prostate cancer shortly after my diagnosis. And before he was diagnosed, my grandparents were like, not you. Us maybe, but not you. You're too young. You're too young. So in hearing all of that, I thought, I need to heal, because I've got my own to worry about. I can't pass this on to them. And so I did counseling, and I spoke to someone that could take my concerns and turn it into something constructive. That's how I found my peace, because there's only so much you can tell family and friends without visibly seeing the worry on their face, because they love me. They love me. So there's concern there, of course. But speaking to a trained professional, they're able to take my thoughts, where I'm literally just saying whatever comes to mind, whatever's on my heart, whatever I felt. They're able to take that, not make it personal, but make it constructive, so that I can leave there feeling lighter, because I was carrying load. And a lot of the invisible load was being worried about how my family was processing things, but also wanting to serve the community. Because from the messages I had received, I knew that I wasn't the first and I wasn't going to be the only. So as liberating as it felt like, feeling like, you know what, there is still purpose there for the next Black sister, it was still heavy. It was still heavy doing that whilst undergoing my own. So there is so much peace in speaking to a trained professional that is able to take your thoughts, your concerns, your worries, whether they be good or bad, and present it back to you, but in a way that can serve you and those around you. There's so much strength and power in that. And I would 100% advise it.